Yo! Welcome back to a brand new Craftopia guide. In today's guide, we're going to be talking about how to fight the giant worm. Now, as always, if you enjoy this video, please do drop a like and subscribe. Comment down below of any help that you may need in the game or any further assistance you need with fighting giant worm. But let's do this. Now, just yesterday we covered how to fight Fafnir, and we mentioned how Fafnir and Giant Worm were both dropped in the winter content update. So we're going to be doing this same process again today, but with the Giant Worm. So we are going to start off with where to find the Giant Worm. We're then going to fight the Giant Worm and go over all of the Giant Worm's abilities. And we will also then talk through how to get the blueprints from killing the Giant Worm as well. Now, to start with, let's head into our altar of transportation and let's find ourselves an island of fire and sand. And I do recommend an island level 7. This will just mean that when you are killing giant worm, you have the best chances of getting the best drops. So let's travel to the island of fire and sand. So this is the island of fire and sand. And as you can see, we spawn dead in the center here, right on the altar of transportation. And we want to be heading to D6. So let's find D and let's find 6. And it puts us about here, and it's actually down on this lower part down here. So we're going to head down there, and that is where we will be able to fight giant worm. Now, unlike Fafnir, we don't need to do anything to spawn Giant Worm in. Giant Worm just classes as a standard mini-boss, so we would either have to wait around 6 to 8 minutes for it to spawn in, or we would use an Indulgence of Anubis to force that spawn. Now, when it comes to all boss farming, I highly recommend Indulgence of Anubises. If you don't have them, there is a guide on my channel that I highly recommend to make sure that you have those Indulgence of Anubis. It will make farming bosses a lot easier, as you will see in a moment. So here we are at the spawn spot for the giant worm. He spawns in this area here, and you will notice that when you run around down on this lower area, the ground beneath you begins to flare up slightly. You will see in just a moment, but as soon as I hit this Indulgence of Anubis, giant worm is going to spawn. So I'm going to hit my buffs, then I'm going to hit the Indulgence of Anubis. Now, the giant worm is very mobile. He moves around a lot. So the best thing to do is actually stay close to him. The further you get away, the more animations that he will do, and he will do all his diving under the ground and all that kind of thing. Your best bet is to try and keep him where he's up, head first, shooting things at you. That allows you to have his weak spots exposed, and you can just sit there inflicting as much damage as possible. Now, don't get me wrong, him moving around is also very useful because he actually exposes more weak spots the more he moves around. So that will actually depend on your fighting style. Now, if I have any recommendation for fighting style, it's going to be magic. Now, the reason I recommend magic is because magic will automatically hit those weak spots. Meaning if you're using range, you better have a good shot. If you're using melee, you better be very fast to keep hitting either side and get the right hits. Whereas if you're using magic, you can just stand in front of him, hit an ice mine down the middle, and it will hit both on either side. And then you also would then use something like a lightning strike that will hit any that he has going down his sides. But you will see all of that in action in just a moment. So I am using magic today. You can use any fighting style and you can fry him without hitting the weak spots. However, you can actually get 2 blueprints from killing giant worm, and they both come from hitting weak spots, not from getting the kills, just from repeatedly hitting weak spots. This meant using magic, I got the blueprints very, very fast. If you're using other fighting styles, it may be slightly slower, but we will go through all of it in just a moment. Let's start off by just spawning him in and taking a look at what we have to deal with. So I'm not going to hit all my buffs right now. I'm actually going to do exactly what we did in the Fafnir video and just take a look at what he does. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to clear my marker, and I'm going to spawn him in. Now, as you can see, the nearest sand eater worm will spawn. So any moment now, the floor will start going, and here he goes. Now, the best thing to do is just keep running around. And as you see, he is now doing his abilities where he jumps around, but he does this. This is so annoying when he does this. You can inflict a lot of damage. Lightning ball and things like that don't actually connect to him while he's doing that. This is how you want him. You want him moving around like this, exposing the weak spots, but that then makes him go into this stance here, which you can inflict damage, but it's not as good. You can't use things like lightning ball on him. It's all lightning strike and your standard attack abilities. So I'm just going to keep going around, and if you can see, on the side of his body, he has these little kind of pink lumps all down his sides. They are his weak spots. They are the ones that you need to hit in order to get the light rosary cross and the dark rosary cross. Now, these crosses are amazing. They have great stats and great resources to craft them, meaning they are probably a best in slot now, and you have to get the blueprints from hitting the weak spots. So I've got my ice mine here. Now, what I'm actually going to do, if I'm focusing blueprints only, I'm not thinking drops right now. I'm not actually going to inflict a lot of damage. I'm just going to use one worm, hit low damage, but focus those weak spots. This will allow me to just rapidly hit weak spots over and over, but they do eventually clear once you've hit them a certain amount of times, but he has a lot, so you can keep going. If you're just looking for kills, then just fry out. Hit the weak spot still, it hits good damage, but I will show you exactly what I mean now. So, let's get him back up. Let's make him active. There we go. So, as you can see, here is his weak spots. Now, if I throw one of these, it hits him in the body. So, trying to hit both sides is going to be a bit tough. But if I send a frost mine right down the middle, like so, boom. You see this squirt? All of that yellow squirt was weak spots. So I just hit about 5 or 6 weak spots with one frost mine. So that's 5 or 6 chances of getting the blueprints that we want. Now, when he does that dive ability where he goes right over, that's a great opportunity to use Frost Mine, because you can actually hit every weak spot on his body. But while he's just up on his head and you're just fighting, you can just use the 2 either side. And every time he's up, you can hit it a good amount of times. So let's make him come up now. The best way to do that is to stay close to him. The moment you get too far away, he does all his other abilities like so, and he's just going to keep jumping around doing this. So I'm going to give him a second, let him come up, and that's when we're going to start hitting those weak spots and inflicting that damage. So here he goes. He's going to keep jumping around. Here he goes. Right, now he's up here. I'm going to Frost Mine there. That's both sides hit. They've respawned again. Come in, Lightning Strike, both sides again. Frost Mine's now ready again, and he's frozen. So I'm going to hit those 2 again. As you can see, I'm just hitting those weak spots over and over and over. And I can do it again here. And then I'm going to come back over here. And I'm going to do it again. These weak spots are just getting fried. So it's a great way to actually get the blueprints. Because remember, it's not the kills, it's the individual hits on those weak spots. And these guarantee both sides every time. Then on top of that, if we can make him do his jump ability like that towards us, then we can actually hit all 4 on either side. So that's potentially 8 hits of weak spots, which is then 8 chances of getting a blueprint. So as you can see, he's a little bit higher now. The 2 up the top have now gone, but he's still got 2 lower. So I'm going to hit those 2 again and just keep repeating this process. Now, he does get frozen a lot with these new effects, and it's actually ridiculous. So I'm just going to use that to my advantage to keep hitting these weak spots. So I've got a bunch of hits already, but I'm just going to keep going. I do want blueprints, so I'm just going to have to keep hitting these weak spots. Look how high up he is right now. That's a great chance to hit double. Freeze him, hit them as well. Beautiful. So while you're killing him, he does drop these fragments, as you can see. They are great, and you need them to craft the actual crosses themselves. But you will get a bunch from hitting the weak spots. So as long as you are focusing those weak spots, you shouldn't have any problem with getting the blueprints or even getting the bunch of cross fragments as well. So there we go. There's the first kill done. Wait for all this to disappear. And as you can see, we've got a bunch of rare metal. we got some gachas, and we got some cross fragments. We haven't got a blueprint yet, but that's fine. Now, the one thing you do want to do is you want to keep circling round because you may hit a weak spot and the blueprint can fly off. So just look around for those blueprints just in case it did come off. And just keep repeating this process. I did this, and within about probably 5 kills, I had both cross blueprints. It was very easy to do. His enchants are also very good, but there is how you kill the giant worm and farm your blueprints as well. So we can just keep repeating this until we have all the blueprints that we wish. You also get the building helmet fragments from this, which you need to create the builder's helmet. So he has got good uses outside of the blueprints as well, and his enchants are also pretty great. So we're just going to keep farming away here. As you can see, I'm not even bothered about damage right now because I purely want weak spots. Now, if I was going for damage, then we'd buff up and we'd get those weak spots as well as just inflict a bunch of damage. But remember, damage isn't important if you're looking for the blueprints. It's all about just hitting those weak spots. Regardless of how much damage you do while hitting those weak spots, that's irrelevant. It's all literally per hit. So if you're just focusing blueprints again, then just focus on keeping that one worm alive, hit that frost mine, hit that lightning bolt, take your time, just keep hitting those weak spots, don't even worry about the kills. If you're after both, then just farm away. If you're using magic, you will get blueprints and a bunch of resources very fast. So let's take a look at what we've got here. So we've got some standard rare metal, and we've got some melting rare metal, neither of which are particularly great, but that's okay. Now we have got a bunch of the fragment of crosses. Now, as you can see, it requires 10 fragments to make either of the crosses. So once you get the blueprints and you then upgrade from the crosses, because the first crosses do 25 bonus attack or magic attack, and the second crosses, which is the ones we need the blueprints for, do 250 attack and 250 magic attack. So we need these fragments to craft them. Now here we have Terrorborne. Now, Terrorborne worms is actually great. It's got 120 attack, 120 magic attack, 5% stamina regen. It gives you basic tier 3 level 3 grit, defense plus 5, max satiety plus 20, max satiety plus 5%, and max stamina plus 10. That is great. So you think you get that 120 on top of either your 250 attack or magic? These are ridiculous, and that's just that item. On top of that, you then need all these other items to actually craft the crosses. So all these enchants stacked up on each of these items is going to make them incredible, which we will run through very soon. You also then get these fragment of helmets, which will help you make one of these, which I'm not even sure if they're particularly worth it. Maybe we'll look into them one day, but they're pretty cool, I guess. But yeah, you get them from there as well. You get some Terrorborne Worm Obsidian, which again is great. Terrorborne enchants are actually ridiculous. So you put that in pretty much anything that requires things like obsidian, which is great because my casual clothes actually requires obsidian. So I'm going to put one of those enchants on there for sure. You get Terrorborne worms then. So anything that requires worms, you can also have those enchants on. And yeah, it's just a great boss, great fun to fight, and you get some great enchants, blueprints for those better ones as well. It's just all round a great boss and a great addition that we gained from the winter update. Now, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do drop a like and subscribe. Comment down below of any help that you may need in the game or further assistance that you need with fighting Giant Worm or Fafnir. Remember, whatever your fighting style, go for those weak spots, but I cannot recommend magic enough to just remove the process of even needing to go for weak spots because magic will just do it for you. That will allow you to get those blueprints, get those new crosses added to your gear setup, and increase your total damage. But most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace!